Welcome to the Determined Mom Show, the only marketing podcast dedicated to guiding mom CEOs into tranquility, wealth, and multiplying those precious moments. Welcome to episode number 69 of the Determined Mom Show. I am so excited to talk to you today about anxiety, and I shouldn't be excited about it. However, I want to share my journey with you in order to hopefully help you to understand your own anxiety if you have it, understand your triggers, understand all of the things. So I'm just going to share with you my journey. I am not a medical professional, so anything that I mention on this show is not something that I recommend you try. It's just something that I personally have tried myself in order to try to find solutions to my own anxiety. So right now, we are in the middle of a pandemic. And I say middle because I really think it's going to be several years before this gets over. And we are, as mothers, dealing with so much right now. Just keeping the kids going with school, if they're going back to school, worrying about them, their safety, all of those things. So just being a mother and doing nothing else right now, it's very stressful. Add to that your business, add to that any other things that you have going on, any projects that you have going on. Like I'm supposed to be writing a book, but I've really only done one book writing session so far because of my anxiety. So yay, thank you, anxiety. But in all seriousness, last year, I think it was in the end of August, I realized that something was really not right. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. I thought maybe I had ADHD because I had trouble concentrating. I was always like fidgety, like I just couldn't sit still. And it was just really hard for me. I was very angry and I was snapping really easily at the kids. And it was just really, I don't know, I just had this feeling like something is not right. So I ended up going to a mental health, whatever, I don't know. Kind of like a mental health treatment office, I guess. And they take you in and do an intake and all of this stuff. So that started my journey with my counselor. And I love her. And she's also a mom and she's also around my age. She has 2 kids. So it really helps to be able to talk to someone that is kind of going through exactly the same things. Although my life is way more complicated than most people's lives just because of lots of different things. But so I love talking to her. I talk to her about every 2 weeks, and I have for about the past year and a month. And I don't think that I could do without it at this point because it's such a needed part of my routine. I've only had one appointment where I probably could have skipped it. Where I didn't have something that was on my mind or something that I needed help working through. I definitely recommend counseling to anyone who is going through anything, whether you're overthinking or worrying or, I don't know, just sad about something. Talking to someone about it and making sure that you're on the right path and that you're doing the right thing is extremely helpful in the mental health journey. So the other thing that happened was I really don't like taking medication. And I have a naturopath as my doctor, and I worked with her initially to try to resolve my anxiety using different methods and treatments and things that were non-medical. So one of the first things she recommended was Lavender Pills, which is basically just lavender oil in a pill. And I did try that, and the only thing that it did for me was made me burp lavender, which I guess it made my breath smell wonderful, but it really did not completely resolve my anxiety, and it really didn't even give me the relief that I needed. So I started that, I think in October, November, but then she went out on maternity leave shortly after that, and she did not come back until the beginning of December. So I basically tried all of the natural things that I could up until December. And when she came back and just kept trying different things, exercise, meditation. I think I meditated for about 90 days straight every single morning. And I was really proud of that streak, by the way, but it didn't really help me to resolve anything. Exercise definitely helps me mentally. It just helps me to be able to focus and get things done a little better. But by the time February rolled around, I was still having like crazy anxiety. And at this point, the kids were still in school. And I was just like, talk to her about it. And I'm like, look, I can't stand how I feel about who I am right now because I'm like yelling at my kids and like all of these things. And I didn't want to be that kind of mom. And so I said, look, what else can we do? And she's like, well, the only other thing that we can try is medication. And I said, well, would you take it if you were, in my shoes? And she said, if it would make me a better mother, absolutely. And I was like, okay. So in February, I started on sertraline, which is the generic of Zoloft. And immediately, like the first time that I took it, and I took like the smallest dose possible, I felt so relaxed. Like it was just like something changed in obviously something changed in my brain chemistry, but it was just so interesting to see how quickly that changed what I needed it to change. And I really didn't have any side effects from it. I'd say the biggest side effect that I have to date, and this is after being on it for 8 months, is definitely that I'm having trouble losing weight. And that is a side effect of the medication. So that is my biggest complaint about it. But I've definitely noticed that I'm more relaxed. I'm able to relax and I'm not as focused on work, which before I would work basically, if I was awake, I was working, and I would be working with no real results because my brain was so scattered and all of those things. So I was able to really focus and bring my perspective back and be nicer to my family and spend more time with them, enjoy spending time with them. And then the whole thing with George Floyd happened, and I had a lot of stressful events happen with my family around that. And I just have a lot of anxiety about basically my family in that situation. And it was really rough. Like the summer was really, really rough. Like it was like the hardest period of my life that I can remember. And it mainly has to do with the fact that I can't control other people, right? And while I want to control other people, I can't, and neither can you. So we have to kind of let that go. But thinking about the fact that we can't control them, at least for me, causes even more anxiety. And like, why can't they just understand? Why can't, whatever. So the other factor is the kids' school. So obviously we started school, I think on September 2nd, I think. And it was actually easy in the beginning, but it's gotten a little bit rougher because I have gotten a couple more big clients and my time has become even more strained, and I've been experiencing some different panic attacks and things like that from time to time. So I went back to my doctor and we discussed different options. And the only real thing that we decided that would work would be to increase my dosage of sertraline and just see how that works, at least just temporarily. The election is definitely another anxiety point for me. I try really hard to avoid watching the news and all of those things. I basically only listen to the news when my husband is around and he has his cell phone on speaker because he listens to the news all the time. And yeah, I try to do a really good job avoiding that. So what I have found that is working for me right now is definitely my medication, obviously. But I also have recently retaken up puzzling over the summer. So jigsaw puzzles, I know that sounds super nerdy, but I used to do it all the time with my babysitter when I was little, and I absolutely loved it, and I absolutely love it now. So we set up a puzzle table in my office, and my husband keeps buying me puzzles to feed my addiction, but it really, really relaxes me and takes my mind off of whatever I'm dealing with. So I encourage you to take time and figure out what that thing is for you. It probably isn't puzzles because most people probably don't enjoy them as much as I do. But, whatever that thing is that you really enjoy doing, make sure that you carve out an hour every day that you get to do that. What I do is I come up and I work on my puzzle for like maybe 15 minutes, and then I will work on it at lunch while I'm eating lunch for 30 minutes, and then I'll work on it for maybe 30 minutes in the evening. So I get it throughout the day, and it helps me to calm down and helps me to focus and helps me also while I'm doing it to think about, what I want to do with the time that I have after that. So I find it very helpful, and I do encourage you to find something like that. The other thing that I do that is helping is occasionally, if needed, I will take like a CBD gummy or some kind of CBD THC combination that will, if I have a panic attack, it will help me to calm down. So that really has been helpful. My husband actually, one day I was making lunch for the girls, and we had just gone to their school to pick up lunch for them. And I realized it was the first time I had been back to their school. And it was just so sad and so depressing to know that like there are no kids in that school right now. And it's just teachers on computers talking to kids. And it was just a really kind of like depressing moment. So I'm assuming that's what triggered it, but I'm not sure. So anyway, I called my husband because he was out, and I said, I need you to pick something up for me, please. I don't know what. Just talk to them, tell them what's happening, and go from there. I really couldn't breathe. I was having trouble breathing. I was like, my heart rate was like in the 90s when I was sitting, and it was just a crazy moment in time. And I did get over it. It took several hours for everything to kind of return to normal, but it was nice to have that option. I live in Washington State, so you can just go to the store and pick up anything that you want along that line, and it makes it really easy. So hopefully you live in a state where you can do that if you need to, and if you want to try that, a solution. The main thing that I want you to take away from this is knowing like the triggers for your anxiety or whatever is going on with you. I'm not saying that you have anxiety, but I think we all have some sort of mild form of anxiety at this point because of the pandemic and becoming a teacher and working and all of the things. But I know one thing for me that is a trigger is politics. Another thing is family, and, just stress in general is a trigger for me. So I'm trying really hard to work on creating systems in our house and all of those things, and avoiding certain conversations with my family and setting clear boundaries. And there's a lot of things that I'm doing to kind of prevent, I guess you could say, having panic attacks and, overwhelming anxiety. And then also combined with my medication and all those things. I will say that it is not perfect. I don't have any day that I can think of where I don't have that anxiety and those kind of things, but I am definitely working on it, and I know what I need to do to work through it and overcome it. So another thing that you should watch out for are the habits that you have. Like, I have a habit of chewing my nails, not my nails, but chewing my cuticles. So that is a habit that I've had forever. Picking your skin is another one. Twirling your hair, biting your lip. I do all of those things. And so just knowing like how to know if you're anxious is also a really, really helpful thing, because when you catch yourself doing that in that moment, you can refocus and you can take a walk or whatever you need to do in order to kind of overcome it. So I hope that this episode brings some sort of help to you, knowing that you're not alone. I would have never, ever, ever talked about this last year when I was just starting to go through it, but there's no way to express how much all of these things have helped me and how much better I feel overall. And it is just super important that we as moms and business owners take care of ourselves first, because we cannot be the best mothers that we can be if we are going through things and not being treated for them. So if you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me at amanda@thedeterminedmom.com. And I look forward to talking to you. And next week on the podcast, we have Calandra Martin. So she is going to be talking about how to optimize your website for conversions. Have a great week. This episode of The Determined Mom Show is brought to you by the Google My Business Master Course. This course features 6 modules and 18 lessons that will walk you through step by step how you can master Google My Business and get ranking in your industry for the locations you want in just 6 to 9 weeks. This course is robust and it features step-by-step instruction. You can always access it at tdmmarketingacademy.thinkific.com, or you can simply go to thedeterminedmom.com and click on Google My Business Course. As a thank you for being a loyal Determined Mom Show listener, you can save 20% by using the code PODCAST.